10 liters for everybody. So if you have anthrax in Uganda and you call us, we would possibly be able to help you. And it's actually very important. And this is also Utraxide. I'm sure possibly many of your vets might know this. This is available in the local shops, but it's not as potent as Viconess. Then again, this is the biocide that we said is contained in that biohazard spews kit. The other important thing that we want to talk about is about sharps, because those sharps will come and inoculate us, isn't it? Will inject us accidentally. So how do we contain them? The needles that we've used, where do you throw them? Do we leave them there? Do we put them in our in something like this? So again, we want you to embrace the techniques of handling the sharps, so that we don't leave them there, and then later we are blamed for doing that. So these are containers for needles. Now, I think now I can come to the vaccine carriers. I'm sure you are aware, many of you have seen these vaccine carriers. The Ministry of Health has used them, for a long time, maybe over 40 years. One is because they are supported by UNICEF, and the other thing is that also WHO has put a lot of emphasis on the specifications of these carriers. And I'm sure this is where we are going, and Dr. Kizia has championed a lot on this. He will never accept anything that is beyond these specifications. In the past, 10 years ago, when you order a vaccine carrier, people learn to then nakumat and buy a domestic carrier. You know them. At the supermarket, they are kept somewhere at the back, isn't it? And there's so many, isn't it? And those are domestic. Those are leisure. They are for sodas. They are for picnics, isn't it? But they're not for vaccines, because they are a little bit narrow, right? They are really narrow, and they cannot keep the vaccines in the optimal temperature for a long time. So they're not good. So don't receive that. If you order, make sure that you meet the specifications, and they have standards. And they are really, really very strict with the standards. And one very important thing is the seal. Most of the domestic ones will not have this rubber, because when you close this, it becomes airtight completely. And if you have 10 ice packs lining this with ice, you can have this for 10 days, closed for 10 days, all right? So if you have vaccine there, and you've closed it, and you've lined it nicely with whatever, you can have it for 134.6 hours. That's a long time, isn't it? That is like almost 10 days, all right? So that's really very important. And then of course, the need to be able to close, that you can have the vaccine, they're inside there, you're sending them somewhere, you've closed them, you've closed completely, you've put a seal, so that you are sure that when the other person receives them on the other side, they are sealed properly, there's no exposure, they were not removed, all right? And then of course the marking. And then, yeah, that's about it. Then when you go to the vaccination site, of course you need a dispenser. So this is a dispenser. Again, now when you go to the animal, you cannot carry this to the animal. So you're going to use a smaller receptacle, which is now the dispenser. So you put this one here, and come and show us how you do it. You put that one there, and then you'll have your vaccines, and then inject to whatever, so that you don't have a lot of time wasting. So anyway, you just hang it on the shoulder, open it. It's also the same. It is also the same specifications. You can carry 3 liters of vaccines here. So that's quite a bit. And then move to the animals now, vaccinating. And then again, it's also lined with the ice packs. The ice packs. So those are good practices for vaccine. And they look small things, but they're very, very, very important. And the need now to go out there and make sure that some of these practices are, practiced is actually, we cannot overemphasize that. Now, the other thing that we've been talking about is Dr. Kisia talked about.
Before you go to that, I wanted to. There's a common practice in the ASAL. You know very well. When you put this one in the pickup or in the Land Rover, the technical staff tend to sit on top. Is it true? It's very comfortable. So when you sit on this one, my friend, you are causing more damage. And as you move from your office to the crashes, it's the tarmac road to the crashes. It's a rough one. So it is this way, going in front, coming behind. So can you imagine the damage what you are doing? I'm sorry to say so, but this is something we need to tell our people. So that we be careful, we make sure that where the vaccine we have to tell the staff, let them sit somewhere else. Either if it's a double cup, they can sit in front and then you leave this one behind alone, or they sit at the edge of the vehicle. So this is an area we in the livestock sector, we have not been very careful. Are you getting it? Now, the other issue is this one. Maybe you can see why when you fill with water, and then you close, and then you leave it there. This particular hose, it is allow expansion. When they freeze, they expand. So this is very important. It is something we need to tell our people, and it is part of the cold chain. So I'm very happy that Kenya has banned the use of plastic bags. Because I remember we used to use the plastic bags, we fill them with water, and put them in the deep freezer. And you tell the fellow, put it overnight, tomorrow you'll find them stones with several shapes, either this way or this way. And you do what? You bump them there. So you see, one section of the vaccine is very close to the stone, the ice stone. It can go beyond the +2. So that is why we want to emphasize, we use this one. And as Alex has said, we put them round. So what is inside is only the vaccine. So there's something I want us to go back, as we go back to our stations. We really want to emphasize the use of these ice packs, so that we don't, I don't know, your country has not banned the plastic bags. Have they banned? Not yet. So I imagine, even when you go to those areas, you are using those plastic bags with a lot of ice. So anything can happen. So aeration or whatever it is, not happen. Thank you.
I think just to add to that, we are still at that. This is the ideal ice pack. When you go to the supermarkets, you can also get ice packs. They are not these dimensions. The configuration is different, isn't it? And what happens is that, one, they tend to swell, right? When you keep them in a refrigerator, they tend to swell and take a lot of space. So again, if you put them here, if you put like 5, 10, then what have you done? You have a huge volume of ice. And therefore, what you've done is now, again, you start killing the vaccine, isn't it? Because it will not be at 8 degrees. You start, the temperatures now go down to -7, -10, isn't it? And therefore, the vaccine is no longer going to be potent. So this is the recommended size with a hole. And the purpose for this hole is, again, to make it airless. And the purpose of the hole is also to make it not swell, all right? And then there's a tendency also for creating ice. And in a couple of years, I'm sure people bought a lot of ice-making machines. it's good to make ice making machines, but when you have ice, again, you end up in the same kind of situations whereby you are now freezing the vaccines. So the ice making machine is not a solution. The solution is your refrigerator, and the refrigerator has a nice compartment. So put these ones in the ice compartment, let them freeze overnight. So you need to have a cup of these. Put them in the ice compartment, have them freeze so that you can now be able to use them when you need to transport them. Our next presentation is on vaccine temperature monitoring. And as we had said, temperature monitoring in the vaccine cold chain is critical in ensuring that the vaccines are kept under optimal cold chain conditions. The general practice for many years, as Dr. Kisi had said, was to use the traditional thermometers. You could have the dial one, or sometimes you could have one made of mercury. We never used, sorry, not made of alcohol. We never used mercury in the refrigerators. And what happened is that when you go to the vaccine, when you go to check the vaccine, that thermometer will only provide a snapshot of the temperature at that particular time, right? So it will just tell you, today you found your vaccine at this temperature, because, this is what you want to hear. So it will tell you that. But it will not tell you again whether there was an exposure. Now, we have introduced what is called a free tag. And a free tag is a small device, very small device, electronic device, that can be put in inside the fridge or possibly out of the fridge. It can also be attached to the carton, the carrier of the refrigerator, and we have them here. This is one of them. This is a little bit advanced. We have this one that is really basic. We even have one that would be even smaller than this one. And this one is attached to the, like the carton or the pallet. You're transporting vaccines. So again, during transport from the airport, you'd also want to make sure that the vaccines that you are receiving are not exposed. So this gadget will be attached there. And what it does is that if there's an exposure, when the temperature falls below the temperatures that are recommended for vaccine, it will put a close, all right? And you cannot change that. So, or for example, you want to transport these vaccines to Garissa, and then in between the transport, this truck have a trouble, and 6 hours, 7 hours, they're parked somewhere in hot sun, their system fails, and therefore the vaccines get exposed. So this gadget will tell you. And you cannot change that. You'll not be able to adjust that. So again, it's a very critical component. Now going forward is what we call now free tag 2L, like what residents have started using. They have quite a bit of this in the county, and I think globally, I think they are the largest consumers for that. I mean, and I think we need to clap for them, because if you go to South Africa, they are not using, nobody is doing that. So yes, I think Dr. Kisia there, you have, and I think you've published something on this, possibly you can share with your colleagues. So this is the free tag, and this is what we want to talk about. So it's actually an electronic device that continually records the temperatures. So you put it externally on the fridge, And then it has a probe that goes inside the fridge. You possibly would put it there, and then you have a probe that will go in the fridge. So there's no need of you coming in the morning to open the fridge and check, because the probe has gone inside and it's able to record, right? And so what it has is it record temperatures, like the whole night, or possibly even a whole weekend, a long weekend, a public holiday, or even like 30 days. You could have that remote code room, and you have a tag that is monitoring all that. And of course, the generation that we have now, possibly Kisia would want to invest on that, is one that has a cellular program or GSM program. So it means it can still call you at home and tell you, it can send an SMS to you and tell you the fridge, there's an exposure, please do something. So on a public holiday or at night, and therefore you learn to the whatever. And this is telling us how important the vaccines are, isn't it? Because who knows that we are vaccinating? When you come and vaccinate cows with an exposed vaccine, will the villagers know? Our mothers will never know, isn't it? But you have that responsibility that possibly, am I vaccinating the right vaccine, or am I vaccinating that vaccine that I'm not being, So it's actually critical. And therefore this gadget has the capacity of storing records for 30 days. And through that record, nobody can tamper with it. And then, of course, it has you can preset it. It can also create an alarm in a room. And, people, for this one, you can set an alarm, and it can create an alarm, yeah. And then, of course, now, talking of quality assurance, this is what we're talking about, isn't it? In the corporate world, you have to show that whatever you're doing, you're assuring quality, isn't it? Are we assuring quality to that farmer that this vaccine that we are giving is potent or has been kept in the right way? So when we do those practices, of course, then we adhere to the quality assurance policies that we've been told to act. And then, of course, the personal, the professional responsibility. The other thing is, of course, the resources. Vaccines are very expensive. So, again, we need to take care of that resource. It's a resource that the government sometimes provide, subsidize, so that the farmers can be able to have their animals vaccinated. So again, we need to think about that. And therefore, this gadget will go a long way in making sure that, this is, yeah. And therefore, on the screen, you can see it. That is how it looks. Now, when you want to read, you connect it to the computer, and then you have all the leadings. If you want 2 days leadings, you can have the 2 days leadings. If you want 30 days leading, you can have 30 days leadings. And you can also print the information for for history. Again, so that is the probe I was talking about that goes into the fridge. And as we said, it's a very good security, and it's not just on vaccines, even on food chain. Like for example, in hospitals where possibly they're eating fish. Fish is also very unstable, isn't it? On temperatures variations. So again, you want to know whether the fish that you've received had been exposed for a long time without the proper whatever, or any other thing that need to be stored in some optimal temperature conditions. And I think that's about it. I don't want to complicate it a lot. We have a lot of information. Whoever want to possibly, want more information, we have a booklet, a whole booklet talking about this thing. So yeah, we can go by that.
Thank you very much. Can we clap for it once more? I think it's a good presentation. And now we can share this information with our counties, with the governor and whoever is there, so that we're able to tell them this is the direction we want to take. And most governors, because they rely on votes. Joke, are you sleeping? Or you are praying? Okay, thank you very much. I hope you are praying internally. Good. So this is what we want to maybe share with our governors and all those county leadership, because it's very important that this is the direction we want to take as livestock keepers. And also, these temperature monitors and the cold chain, the manufacturers of vaccines have also their problems. Suppose Kenya Veterinary Vaccine Production Institutes, they don't produce proper vaccine. And you keep on buying the vaccine from them. And the protection is not there in the animals. How will you pin them down? They will always want to tell you, your cold chain is bad. How you remove the vaccine from here to your place and from your offices to the animals is bad. But with this kind of system, where you can record your temperature for 30 days, and they are there in their laptop, you can easily tell them, my cold chain and temperatures has been maintained below +8. And you can go to court. This is where the manufacturers are now scared. They don't want, I know even Gevabi, they don't want to hear this idea of temperature monitors. Because you are able to tell them, your vaccine is not working. But currently we are only telling them verbally. And we make noise in the public rallies and say, your vaccine is not working. But scientifically, you are able to pin them down with this kind of information. That's what I see this one as an advantage for that. And even a farmer himself, he can even tell you that your vaccine is not working. But if you show, now currently, like in Tresillia now, I think for the 5 counties, the 5 of them, West Pokot, Narok, Kajiado, I think we did what we call pre and post-vaccination surveillance. We collected samples for FMD when the animals were not vaccinated, and then we have come back. I think I saw that they've already come. West Pokot, have they come? They are yet to come. Maybe Narok, they are through. Kajiado, I think we are through. That report, when it comes out, the immunity, the level of antibodies can tell us. And if you see the level of antibodies is low, and with this arrangement with the cold chain, we can go back to Gevabi, please tell them, refund us our money, or we take you to court, or give us fresh vaccine. So this is the direction. And I know also, we have not been able to dispose, not even to dispose, but to discard vaccines in livestock. It's not like in the public health. Because the moment these temperatures show red, or they have shown the temperatures has gone beyond, we are able to dispose. But because we have not been using temperature monitors, we have been assuming everything is okay. But now these temperature monitors, you can easily tell the county, this vaccine are not making an arrangement to take people to the field and vaccinate them. Because the potency, the vaccine has already been exposed for several hours. And you can easily tell them, I'm not going to use the vaccine. So this is the direction we want us to take. Good. And I think also in one of the, if you look at these fridges, if you go back to your station, the door of the fridge, there's always some space there. People want to keep vaccine there. That is wrong. Don't keep vaccine inside the doors of the fridge. When you open the door of the fridge, the inside part of the door should be empty. That is also part of the cold chain. They also say the standard way of keeping vaccine, don't make a fridge 100% full. You find people pumping in all those vials of FMD from the down onto the rooftop, and they close. That is not the way to go. It should be 50% full. 50% to allow aeration, air to go around. So these are the things I want you to take back to your station to tell them what you are doing is wrong by making the fridge full, 100%. It should be always 50% and below. That is part of the cold chain. Those are the part of the, they are not new really, but we have not been knowing. We have not been exposed. Sawa. So those are the few things. Now, before we close the session, I don't know, I want to receive some few questions if they are there. And I would like Ngati to moderate that. Then we're able to, Alex can respond or me.
Is there another microphone? Okay, I think we can give a clap to the presenters. And anybody with a suggestion, a question for the presenters?
Thank you very much. I'm from Uganda. This presentation was very, very exciting. I've added a lot of knowledge on my small scale of veterinary medicine. So I'm a doctor for crops. But what I've observed in Uganda, especially in Karamoja, the resilience project has tried to build the cold chain. But the challenge, I think, these temperature monitors have not really observed whether they are with us. But this presentation, through you, sir, it will be very good for these people to move to ministries. There was a gentleman who was marketing certain things, but he moved to the ministry and he contacted the relevant directorate and they gave them an opportunity to share with the specific people, including people who carry out procurement. Because once a veterinary doctor puts on procurement, the other issues of transport and other things are left to the procurement people. I would believe that this would be very fruitful. It may be costly, but as a company, you may gain at the end of the day. If you come to Ministry of Agriculture, make arrangement, there are certain Bazungu who were trying to, they were coming up with the vaccine on what. We gave them an audience, and after that, they have set up their offices, and now the ministry has really engulfed them so much. So we believe that they should be able to have time, other than talking to us, potato growers, matoke, what. You need to come and concentrate with the vet experts and the directors, and people make a decision on money in our ministries. And then that will make an impact for us to have this system. Actually, if you come, you'll be a very good marketeer for them. Because the way you talk, you really emphasize the veterinary issues are very important. That's what I wanted to urge.
Any other person with a question? Maybe in my case, maybe we could talk about the cost of the tag in dollars, so that maybe people from Uganda and Kenya can have an impression. I mean, from other country can have a.
In such forums, we are not able to talk about the costs in these kind of forums because we want it to be as scientific as possible. So we might not be able to talk about the costs. But having said that, you can always contact us even for more information. I think it's more important to have this awareness out there, and then. Yeah, I'll come, or you can visit our website and we can give information. We can write to the Ministry of Livestock in Kampala And then, of course, yeah, we can do that. If they want us help them with the specifications, we can do that.
Are we? Okay.
First, thank you very much for these presentations. I'm just concerned that I see, for example, I'm from South Sudan. The Minister of Livestock and Fisheries, we are being supported by FAO. And of course, the temperature measurement is not there. But I do see clearly that most of the vaccines are really brought from far. And now that you are here, I think what you lack is actually the marketing aspects, because the region is really, if we were to be serious, we got to be more aggressive in our region. Particularly, we are talking about resilience now, and we are under IGAD. And we are not very far. For example, South Sudan is not very far from the border as well. I think what you need to do is to accelerate, perhaps in addition to what my brother from Uganda is saying. You know, we have Ministry of Livestock in all these countries. That need to get a link to you, so that at least we would not be able to be deceived by maybe agencies that say, okay, we can get it for you and so forth, while we also know where really we can get a good vaccines like here, not very far in Kenya. I think this is what I think I should also say, that we really need it. And I think although we will go back and say, this is what it is happening in Kenya and so forth, I think also you need to really sharpen your market strategy on this, because this is not a government thing, is a private thing. So you need to be very serious. Thank you very much.
We are actually doing that, and some years back we had contacts with the Ministry of Livestock. Dr. Nandwa, sometimes we met with her. She's come to our place, and she was really, really, enthusiastic about the coaching. And but of course after that, there were some few challenges, and I think this was not taken forward. But having said that, I think the most important thing is creating this awareness like we are doing now, and especially to the technical people. Possibly, even when you do this kind of forums, you also need to invite administrators, so that they sometimes make decisions that are very critical, like a procurement officer might not understand some of these things. So when you incorporate them in some of your meetings, then it becomes more, or even a minister might not, even if I went and talked to a minister about these things, they will never understand. But the politician, so yeah, so I think going forward is doing that kind of thing, so that we can now pass over the information.
To add something on that, FAO, I know FAO is supporting you. When I talk to FAO, the eradication of PPR in this, there's global, regional, and national. So we work together with FAO. FAO, when I talked about these temperature monitors and proper cold chain, they were at the beginning they were not, but now these days they are listening. They are listening, and they're actually telling the counties where they are supporting, can you do the way the resilient project is doing? So it is something now coming out clear that now they want to accept. Because I went, they were supporting a county called Karisa, and they have a cold room, which was not functional. But when I entered the place, I saw a lot of PPR vaccine on the floor. And the temperatures were beyond 30. So you see now, and then I ask, what is it? They say they are waiting for facilitation. I think they have a system of wiring the money to the counties, from the Central Bank of Kenya going to the counties, and it was taking time. So I really came back and talked to them. You really want to take that resources, after maybe 6 months or 4 months to Karisa or whatever. I think they are supporting 6 counties, including Mandera. You process the facilitation, and then the vaccine has been with the county for the last 6 months, and now telling them this is the money. can you make a vaccination program? Go to the field. And those call rooms beyond 30. Surely, are you not wasting resources, to be honest? Just because you have been given some money to support livestock keepers in a certain county, and you don't want the money to go back. So you are very comfortable using the money and dumping the money with the county, please go ahead and vaccinate. But surely that's why at one time I told them, if this animal could be speaking, this animal could be talking, they will not line up and bring them the crash. Because you're wasting their time. They would have gone out to graze and drink water. And you're putting them in a crash and pushing them with a lot of sticks to vaccinate with nothing. Honest. And this is the direction we need to take as people of Africa. We need to be serious on our people. Yes. Because people misuse livestock keepers, especially in the Asa. But my friend, take somebody in hypertension in Eldoret or Kiambu, and you come with your vaccine, which most of them, of course, most of them will look at it. Is it cold? Whatever. They will know. They will not bring the animals. But the livestock keepers in the Asa, because they are desperate people, because of illiteracy, they don't know. They just tell them, bring the animals, book them on the line. And then they follow with the chief. If you don't present the animals, I'll take you. And they were wasting resources. So this is an area, I'm very happy with the way you are saying now. Please, we need to tell these people. Okay, tell them now, this house should be done. Okay, I know it's expensive. Because vaccine is also very expensive. These gadgets plus this cold chain and the rest is more or less a quarter of the cost of the real vaccine. Maybe you buy your vaccine, millions and million doses, maybe at a rate of $1 or something like that. And these things cannot, yeah. And after the vaccine has gone, that program has gone, you have another program next year. Isn't it so? Now that program of next year, you are still using the same gadgets, you are still using the same temperature monitors and the disposer. It is an investment. It's an investment. So let people not worry that it's expensive. Because the moment we have done with this one, any owner coming to do vaccination in that district, you say we have this one. Maybe replace 2, 3, maybe add us more of these monitors they have lost, but you will not go fully to start from the ground. Are you getting it? So it is something we need to go that direction, so that we're able to, of course, you know the consequences, we are able to access some markets. There's what we call risky what? Risky, when people want to come buy animals from you, they want to do what called risky, is it risk analysis or risk whatever? Yes, to see who is vaccinating these animals, what type of vaccine are you using, yeah, then you will access those markets. So it's something we need to do. Thank you.
And then adding to that, I'm sure you know globally, the trend is that, the good practice has to be there. Like one is what do you call it? Tagging, isn't it? So if you want to enter into some markets now, and especially now the European market, we have to tag our animals, isn't it? And when you tag them, you also take the DNA, isn't it? So you can know when you tag the animal, you might know the mother, the grandmother of this cow, isn't it? Or where it used to be grazed, isn't it? Because again, this is the trend. And going forward, again, Europe, beef is becoming worse and worse. So Africa, this is where we need to really keep our eyes on, because now our meat is still good, and investing on some of these things, the vaccines and all the good practices, is a good thing.
Okay, if we don't have anything to add, anybody having anything to add, any addition? Now we are the presenters. I think we are very grateful for you having and listening into this. I think this is one of the innovation or good practice which the IGAD region can adapt, or it can be upscaled. Apart from being used in Kenya, it can be used in other IGAD countries. And some of the key take-home messages. The first thing we are talking about proper disposal of clinical waste. And then we are talking about, as we do in public health, human medicine, whereby in human medicine, the vaccines, we usually see them ensuring that the vaccine, from the time it has been supplied until it is administer to the patient, we have maintained the efficacy and the potency of the vaccine. I think they should be replicated, and we're talking about eradicating some of these diseases. Rift Valley fever. We're talking about PPR. How can we eradicate such diseases if we cannot ensure that the vaccine, when it is entering the animal, it has the full potency and full efficacy? I think if there's no any addition, we are very happy, Mr. Ogola. You have one final addition,
Hello, I'm Ogola from Resilience. My question is a bit technical. Have you quantified in terms of the benefits of carrying out the practice using these things that you're trying to promote, in terms of what is the savings?
He's talking about what is the impact in terms of the savings, Yes. In terms, you are talking about terms of animals, Animals. Yes. Can you be a little bit clearer?
Yeah, I'm saying, by introducing this particular system, in terms of benefits, in terms of animals saved, in terms of the vaccines, knowing that these vaccines are going to work as opposed to these vaccines are not going to work, what is the saving?
Yes. Can you tell me? Because I know it has been working in Narok. I don't want to answer myself. I know the answer, but I want to come from you. What is the savings? If you do proper cold chain, what is it compared to somebody else who don't use the cold chain?
Okay, what I will do, I will use an example to explain actually what happens. What happened in Narok? Ideally, the farmers never used to, the pastoralists, they used to vaccinate their animals, but they never used to put more emphasis or attachment on the vaccination, because they knew that even if the disease comes, it will still get the animals which are vaccinated, until after we implemented the integrated pest management plan, where we followed the cold chain to the latter. And in one of the areas, there was the response was not very good, so we vaccinated like half of the of livestock. And then now when the outbreak came, interestingly, these animals were grazing in the same area, they were drinking water from the same river, and they were even sleeping in the same pens. But those which are vaccinated, actually the livestock farmers said that they realized that those which were vaccinated did not come down with the disease. Unlike in the past, where whether they are vaccinated or not, they still came down with the disease. So in our case, in fact, they came to the office and they to go back to Nairobi to look for more vaccine, because they said they've never seen such a vaccine. It was foot and mouth vaccine that the animals can be vaccinated and they are not infected even though they are exposed. So we feel like it was a paradigm shift in the mentality of the pastoral keepers. And now the turnout during the last vaccine was so enormous, because they say that vaccine is the best because of the results that were realized. Thank you.
That's a very good answer. You see, they are now the people in Narok and Kajiado. They now say the vaccine the Resilience is using is not a vaccine from Kevapapi. They believe the vaccine from Resilience is different vaccine. But it is the same FMD. It's only that they didn't know we are maintaining this, the cold chain. That's what they were saying, that vaccine is very good. And then recently there was an outbreak in Majimasuri, in Narok. And we followed, they collected samples, it was brought to Embakasi, and it was SAT1. And when we follow back, The animal, that particular animal came from Tanzania. It came, ikalala kwa hiyo boma, it slept there for 3-4 days, and it came down with the disease. But the animals which was mixed together with this animal which came from Tanzania never came down with the vaccine, never came down with FMD. So what is it? It is proper handling of the vaccine until it reaches the animal. The moment the vaccine has entered the animal, don't bother about temperature monitor anymore. Are we getting it right? Don't bother about temperature monitoring, moving with the animal. The animal is able to control the remaining. Say many amen. 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 Yeah. So our purpose is only to make sure these animals get the right vaccine at the right temperature, and the potency and efficacy is working, James. And then when you do that, Bwana James, they will say you have supplied a different vaccine. That is the layman language. It is the same vaccine, but we did proper procedure of doing this. And we would like to support people if they say, I'm not going to use this vaccine. I'm giving you an example. It was vaccine which was collected in Kevapapi. It was going to Wajir. Is Wajir here? It's not here. It's going to Wajir. And because of DSA, domestic what? DSA is what? Yeah? Daily subsistence allowance. Like IGAD pays you $200 per day if you come here. Is not so? Because of that, the boss in charge of livestock, who is the CEC or the minister in that place, say, I'll go to Nairobi to buy the vaccine and bring. Because if I go to Nairobi, I'll be given 7 days. Times the rate of who? Of that particular officer. So the man who is supposed to have to pick the vaccine and take it to Garissa was told, where you remain, I'm going. I'm doing other things. And he bought the vaccine, honestly. He came to Kenya Veterinary Vaccine Institute. He bought the vaccine, put them in carton, not in cool boxes like this one. And he took them to Isili, to his room, put them in a corner of the room, because those fellows in the lodging don't know, these are boxes. And he stayed there for 2-3 days, and doing other things. And then after that, the last day, he put them in his Land Rover and went to Wajir via Garissa. And when they reached there, the man who was supposed to do the vaccination, he refused. This vaccine has been kept, has been exposed, why should I bother? And honestly, the money to facilitate the officer to go and vaccinate was ready. But the officer refused. And he was even refusing, you go. And he left. So those are the people, because we are now wanting to tell the leadership, we don't want to do things the usual way. Things have changed. So I hope as resilience comes in, and I hope there's another project coming in and carry up with this idea of cold chain. James, I'm very happy you have been baptized now. You have listened. You have listened. And even if you talk to Museveni, there was somebody called Professor Who, the one technical advisor to Museveni. Abuerere or Musa, I don't know, Moses or whatever. He used to teach us in Nairobi University. There's somebody there. So if you talk to him, you will listen. This is the right direction. This is the right direction. Because we don't need to pump millions and millions of money, and these animals are just walking naked, nothing. So gentlemen, I think I'll leave it there. Thank you.
I think we have come to the end of this session, and we can. Or you want to say something?
Let me say something. Okay. Also, let me emphasize to what my brother. You know, in terms of economic benefit, there is what we called the contribution of livestock to GDP. And when you look at these projects, we emphasize what is livestock contribution to GDP. Why is it going down? It is going down because of the rate of death of animals. And we are now, as we are coming in, as time goes on, we're identifying what really causes high death rate or mortality rate of animals. If we address that, we shall see the contribution of the livestock sector to GDP in these countries. The other way is you can go, like there is something, internal rate of return on investment. You don't need to tell the farmer whether your animals are contributing, but what as a state we must do is to ensure that as we see people being alive, the animals also must be healthy, like as human beings must be healthy, so that the animals also can contribute to the growth and the development of our country. That's the only, otherwise if we go into logical reasoning, whether the farmer understands, we should be like we should not vaccinate people who cross from Zaire to Uganda because they are poor people. We should not invest because what are they going to contribute? Do they dig? They are refugees, they are poor. But if we state we ensure that life must be alive, we must ensure that life must be there. And these are issues which really now need to help us to identify why we have we've been having high mortality rate of livestock, and then we address. My emphasis, and I still continue to emphasize, is we must build this mechanism into the state other than relying into short-term projects. And that's why for me, I believe that since we're with IGAD, IGAD can organize these sessions to our technical ministries, and so that it becomes a part of, because let me tell you, many people, very few people read the websites, which are saying you can visit our websites. Even some people hack websites. Yeah, I was buying a hatchery. I wanted to start a hatchery in my place. I went to China. They told me China is, but I went to a website which was really like the one they told me in China. Until my son, who is an expert, said that website you are using, you are going, these are hackers, and you're going to put your money somewhere. If you don't have the ability to identify who is a hacker of a website, you are going to get even quotations and even contacts eventually giving. So I will emphasize through IGAD that we need to organize you to meet our technical ministries and our politicians who make a decision. Because even a politician can decide, give that contract to so and so to supply. Yeah, more money, because it doesn't know. So, but if we have this knowledge round, first of all, I want to emphasize, do the corporate social responsibility other than profit first. Move around the IGAD states and help us. We can talk to IGAD to facilitate you here and there and do this. The profit will come later. Let us save life of livestock in this region. Thank you.
I think those are very powerful closing remarks. Yeah, very powerful. As we keep our health, keep ourselves healthy, I think we should also maintain the health of the animals. Okay, with that, we have come to the end of this session. We thank you very much for your participation. Okay, thank you very much.
Turkana, one of the largest cities in temperatures exceeding 40 degrees Celsius, average rainfall of less than 200 millimeters a year. Well, to the majority of the population follows pastoral lifestyle, killing various species of livestock sufficient to and meat for consumption, social and occasionals. The resident highly traditional society that has over the years received less development attention than most counties in Kenya. Traditional representation here remains strong. In this county, you will find Lake Turkana, the largest permanent desert lake in the world. The county borders Ethiopia, Sudan, and Uganda. The western part of the county is in the Karamoja cluster, where neighboring tribes of Tepesi, Dodosi, Jie, Pokots, and Turkana form grazing resources, which often lead to resource conflicts, especially during periods. Such conflict was witnessed during the drought that occurred in 2011, which triggered a special intergovernmental foreign development team to address the issue.
So, then the office of IGAD, a common platform was developed called the GC, which is basically IGAD initiative. It's combined with what countries like to do on their own, basically for addressing the challenges of drought with the region. So for us as a country and our countries, we approached the bank to support this project. The bank agreed to support Kenya, Ethiopia, Uganda to have dealing with the challenges of region.
In Kenya, the government, Ministry of Agriculture, Stock, Fishes and Irrigation, spearheaded the World Bank funded Regional Pastoral Resilience Project, RPLRP, Kenya.
And the objective is to enhance of agro-pastoral communities within the region to better able to address the recurrence of drought, to be able also to assist the countries more effective in response promptly to crisis and other challenges that when we have drought within the region.
The project being implemented in 14 counties, namely Garissa, Jia, Tana River, Lamu, West Pokot, Baringo, Laita, Isiolo, Marsabit, Samburu, Narok, Mandera, Kajiado, and Turkana.
The project began in 2014, but in Turkana we started in 2015. We have an accountant, we have a procurement person, we also have other support staff.
In this video, we look at some highlights of what the project has done in the county. Here, project covers three subsidies focusing on migratory roof transbound significant. The main investments done in Loima and Turkana sub-counties. Project outcomes reduce death rate of livestock that is cattle and sheep kept by pastoral and agro-pastoral households by the project by 7% in drought years and 3% in normal years by 2019. To raise the number of animals traded selected the markets by 6% by 2019. Raise the real value of animals traded in selected project markets by 6% by the year 2019. To effect change in timeline between early information response 4 weeks less than 2 by 2019 and to directly benefit 7,000 households or 42,000, of which more 40% are female.
In the undertaking activity, the project
management component project is enhanced management every act of pastoral and agro natural resource significance. In Turkana County, the project has truck and rehab projects, including the Siriampa water pan, Omokori borehole, water pan, Naksan borehole, Nakerei borehole, Thorongor Water Park and Nakitongo Hall. In Nakitongo village, village used to rely on traditional wells and river for domestic water and to their livestock. During dry season, when the water is almost dried up, the community was forced to walk to Namor stream near 10 kilometers away to dig up wells domestic water. Because they have water and for all the animals, most were forced to migrate across the border to Uganda for water. This migration exposed communities related to conflicts of livestock. The RPLRP project had initially intended construction a shallow well at the village. Discussions with community elders realization the site was unsuitable for a shallow well.
Tulikuwa tunataka maji kwa visima ambavyo ni Ngoboto. Ngoboto tulikuwa na maji mabaya. Maji anapatia watu kwa haraka na typhoid. Ya watu tulikuwa tunapatanga katika visima ambayo inaitwa Nakitongo. Ingine inaitwa Kudongo. Sai na ng'ombe tulikuwa naenda ya kutafuta nyasi na kupata shida ya mapiti,
lakini wakati maji yamekuwa hapa imesaidia wanyama wetu. Wanyama wetu sio rahisi na kuhamia ya jirani. Ana ng'ombe zetu ilikuwa inaenda kupitia ukosaji katika hii. Ilikuwa inakia huko wanaiba. Lakini maji imekuwa hapa. Imeleta maji yote. Maji walikuwa Uganda. Wapi ajali. Watakuwa wana maji. Hiyo ndio wetu watu ya Nakitongo. Tunapia vile hii maji tulipata. Na hata sisi zamani ilikuwa ni kunishida. Hii maji kama watu Nakitongo wanapelekwa hospitali haji ile mbaya. Lakini hiyo imeanguka.
Nakitaka hii project iende mbele. Na sisi kama community tuelewane vile tutachika hii mradi vizuri, kwa sababu sehemu nyingi ya mradi saa zingine inaweza vunjika na rudi kupatia. Lazima sisi wenyewe community chini tuone vile hata kama ni kufanya kidogo sisi kama na eleuri ya kwamba tu yetu kidogo chenye tupata kila na hii maji na ogana na wengine kwa tunaweka account ya kami kichunga any break or mechanical problem yenye hapa kwa hiyo.
Through the market and trade project improving markets for upper and international and international markets for life and livestock products. To this end, the project invested structural livestock market in Loimati. The area around Lokma has lost from insecurity, especially from Majong and the Tepe communities reading in Uganda, the Pokots from the south. Construction of the cross-border market in Lokiama is strategic in addressing these conflicts and fostering unity in neighboring communities.
This market is going to be serving the unity both in Kenya and in Uganda. So on the other side of Uganda, there is also another market being done by the same similar project in Uganda. It's called Nakiloro Cross Market. We are trying to come up with all this to enable the markets together. And one of them is maybe coming up with the days. that are not in conflict with another market. So when the traders are trading in Nakiloro, they can bring the beef to Lokeriama market.
Umuhimu mkuu ambayo kwa mnanda utakapokamilika kwamba itatusaidia sana kuimarisha uhusiano pia na usalama wetu na majirani wetu ambao ni kwa upande wa Karamega, kutoka upande wa Dodoma na pia mandugu kutoka Pokot, sababu tuko mbali sana, tuko na vile sote tuko na hali moja ambayo katika usawa moja ambayo ni wafugaji, so itatuleta pamoja.
Hii mradi ikiwa hapa alafu majirani, unajua ni tulikuwa tunasosana na wao. Sasa tukiwa tutafanya biashara kwa pamoja na majirani, sasa hiyo itagusa insecurity hapa. Na unajua sasa kazi yangu kwa rahisi sana. Watu wametoka kwa ya wizi ingia kwa biashara ambayo yawabadilisha, imetoa kwa ile mambo mabaya yanafanya, na sasa kazi yako itakuwa nzuri kabisa, na kazi mimi nitakuwa shida kidogo ambayo ni hapa ni ndani, lakini kama kwa mtu huko kuambulia mahali fulani kwa mifugo ya mtu fulani, hiyo kwa imesha, kwa sababu majirani kwa kufungua akili yao kufanya biashara, na watu wangu pia watakuwa wamefungua akili wanafanya biashara.
Is livelihood support, through which the project is enhancing the livelihoods of communities in the project area, provision of livestock health services, feed and production, breed improvement, emotion of alternative livelihoods.
Of livelihood support, in short course, we are supporting the government in this PR area. In that area, we are collaborating with the FAO.
PPR is a disease that affects goods and sheep. It's a viral disease, and it's one of the objectives within our Department of Livestock to eradicate PPR in the country, and it's also an objective within it to eradicate PPR within the region.
So the vision of the project is that the Ugandans and the Kenyans could agree on how where they vaccinate. So they could do we could start from the border inland. We start, all of us, we start inland and then we converge at the border. That is harmonize vaccination.
Boundary disease control is one of the functions that has been a concern in Kenya. Of course, we know a function of disease control is vaccinations on diseases like PPR, which is actually locally known as Lomo, that is a state expertise from there is sheep and pox and other diseases in contagious bovine pleuropneumonia in control. So we well funded project RPLRP vaccinations. They have cured over 2 million vaccines across the country. It means our disease control being boosted to ensure that animals are healthy.
Prior to this, we went in El where we with this test this knowledge on outfits that were provided by the project. So simply what we are doing is we check the box whether there is any presence of the kit is different because now in itself it's actually distinct from this, unlike the other method using a lab where we are going for the antibody that maybe could due to vaccine or because of the disease in the flocks.
Madawa imesaidia sana na madaktari wakishanya mifugo hapa. Najua kawaida mifugo hapa huwa na secretary wa international borders kwenda tadari na magonjwa. So wakati tunapata mtari kwa wakati kama hii inasaidia mifugo yetu kutibu magonjwa na ile hata mifugo sana afya. Baya tena inatoa ya mbuzi tunakuwa maziwa mengi na nyama nzuri.
Pest management is the component. Through this component, projects and hunting drought-related hazard preparedness and at the national and regional through creation of early warning information of drought disasters.
What we're doing, we're working jointly with the National Drought Management Authority and with DME, we been able to do a number of activities such as, for example, revision sentinel sites. Then those sentinel sites, we can accurate, more reliable information, and also for us as a project, information really enables us to understand through collection of data and information whether the project is on what its project objectives. So we've done that, we've been able to accomplish that, and we believe through our engagement with the National Drought Management Authority, which also to improvement in terms of response to drought issues. At the time of our praise document of this project, we were able to say that it takes about 4 weeks. And is declared to response. And our objective is that 4 weeks to within 4 or 5 years of implementation, we've been able to reduce them 4 to 3. They still persist the improvement from 2 to 2.
Management institutional support is the component which focuses on 2 areas. All aspects related to overall management and institutional standing at the county, national and regional levels of drought resilience and technical assistance to participating arid and semi-arid lands counties in strategic planning, policy development, self-reliance and investment for economic growth. The aim is to speed up the devolution process in areas related to supporting the livelihoods of pastoral and agro-pastoral communities. The RPLRP project continues to give special support to governments to enhance their capacity to formulate their plans on drought diseases. Throughout the implementation period and with the project, the project team has deliberately involved communities every step of the implementation process. This is guided